Good morning. It's nice to have fall. A little cooler weather. This morning, we have just heard from Romans chapter 1, verses 19 to 21, some amazing claims that the Apostle Paul makes on behalf of God. And the thing that he says is that what may be known of God is manifest in them, or is plain to them. It's easy to understand. And his invisible attributes are clearly seen by the things that he has made. Okay? In verse 20, he says that God has shown his invisible attributes by the things that he made. In other words, there is a creation. And the very existence of the creation indicates that there is a creator. And God is understood by the things that are made. Now, when we say that the things that are made, we know about this. Because whenever we see a very excellent piece of furniture, we know that a very special carpenter made it. Furniture made by Thomas Chippendale. He was an Englishman who lived in the mid-1700s. Even today, 275 years later, his furniture is extremely valuable. He is known, Thomas Chippendale, is known by the excellence of the furniture that he built. And in the same way, our God Jehovah is known by the myriad of stars and planets and other things that he made throughout the universe. Now, to appreciate this argument, let's examine the details. Anything that has been made or manufactured has 5 characteristics. They have a purpose, they have a design, they have an organization, they're in good order, and they have various uses. Now, we have a purpose for a house or a home. It's a place for us to live safe from the weather and the dust and the wild animals and so on. A house has a design. The walls and the spaces set aside places for us to have a kitchen, a dining room, bedrooms, bathrooms, a laundry room, a heating and cooling unit, and so on. A house has a design. It also needs to be well organized. Some people dislike their homes because they're not well organized. We want the kitchen and the dining room to be close together. We don't want to have to walk a long way. We want the bathrooms to be accessible. Sometimes we want 2 bathrooms to be accessible. We want a kitchen and dining room. We dislike space being wasted on long hallways. We want a house that's well organized. And a house needs to be kept in good order. We clean it. We may repair the electricity or the plumbing. We may repaint the walls. We may make improvements here or there. We want it in good order. We want it to look good. And a house has many uses. Though its original use, of course, is for a place for a family to stay, or people, we may throw a party. We may use a room or 2 for a business. We may have a daycare center. There are so many uses we can make of a home. And now in parallel, let's ask the question, do the heavens have a purpose? Yes. They mark time. In Genesis 1:14, Moses wrote that God set the sun and the moon in the skies to give us night and day, seasons, days, months, and years. In 1967, astronomers at the Naval Observatory observed the Earth's motion in relation to the heavens to accurately measure time. That is until 1967. And what we're referring to is the fact that the heavenly bodies move in exact precision. We know where they'll be. We know exactly when they'll be there to the second. That's how precise they are. In 1967, someone built an atomic clock that uses cesium-133 atoms because they oscillate or they vibrate exactly at the rate of 9,192,631,770 times per second. I don't know how they ever found that out or figured that one out, but somehow they did. Now, the point is, an atomic clock may lose or gain a second in 30 million years. That's how accurate it is. But somebody wasn't satisfied with that. The scientists at the National Institute of Standards and Technology built an optical clock. It uses light, or the optics. It has lasers and mercury ions that measure light oscillations. Optical frequencies regularly oscillate at 1 quadrillion times per second. Now, I don't know how anybody could count that. I'm just trusting these people that they're telling the truth. But even an optical clock may miss a second every 30 billion years. That's 1,000 times more accurate than an atomic clock. Can you see that accuracy this precise required someone to make it that accurate? That didn't happen by accident. That is an evidence for God. And the heavens mark time and have designs. So they have a purpose and they have a design. We call these designs solar systems, galaxies, and so on. Are they well organized? Oh yes, they're very well organized. Do you know where all the rubble in the solar system is? Not every little bit, but almost all of it. It's in an asteroid belt out beyond Mars, which of course is the planet beyond ours. There is this asteroid belt that spins around and it comes before Jupiter. Now, nobody knows why we need an asteroid belt, but it's far better than having all those rocks flying all over the universe, all over the solar system. Is the solar system in good order? Astronomers estimate it will last 100 billion years. And the solar system has other uses. People go out to look at the moon and the stars because they think these are beautiful. And if you've seen the Milky Way, you recognize that milky situation there is full of stars. And then, of course, we've sent spaceships to the moon, and they want to send one to Mars. So the solar system has many uses. So the heavens and the solar system have purpose, design, organization, order, and uses. And these are the signs or the evidences of a builder. They prove that someone created the heavens. And just because people deny that happened doesn't change the fact that all these characteristics are there. And they prove that there is a God who created them. As Hebrews chapter 3 verse 4 says, "For every house is built by someone, but he who built all things is God." And next, if we look at our universe, we find that there are all kinds of laws. There are laws of light. Light travels at 186,282 miles per second. And again, I don't know how they figured that out, but they did. And you know how far a light year is? Well, it's the speed of light times the number of seconds in a year. So We need these laws. We need the laws of gravity. If we didn't have gravity, where would we be? Because of these laws, astronomers have discovered what are called black holes. There's an argument going on right now as to whether there is black matter, in other words, matter that can't be seen, or something else. But something is there, because you can tell by the gravity and the way things work together. Now, how did these laws originate? Now, it's popular to say that they showed up at the Big Bang, but actually that's a cop-out. It evades the real issues. Did a ball of super compressed matter and energy explode and make the universe? If so, where did the alleged ball of super compressed matter and energy come from? Nobody has an answer to that. And they never will find an answer to that. And until they can explain where that alleged ball came from, the Big Bang Theory is just a subterfuge. It's a trick to hide their ignorance. It pretends to explain where the universe came from, but it really doesn't. Likewise, atheists have no idea where the laws at work all around us came from. How did they come into existence? Well, we know about laws. We make laws. People make laws. How can we explain the existence of laws unless we reason that there must be a powerful lawgiver who created the laws? And it's natural that we call the one who created these laws God. So the creation, with its fantastic order and lawfulness, proves that someone made it. And then I want to add in another argument taken from 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 18, where the Apostle Paul wrote, "The things which are seen are temporary, but the things which are unseen are eternal." So everything is either temporary or eternal. Now, if you try to argue that everything is physical and therefore temporary, you've got a real problem. It has a fatal flaw. Temporary things have a beginning and an end. And if something had an origin, where did it come from? There must of necessity be something eternal that cannot not exist, which is the source of all things. And what is that eternal something that brought the universe into being? The Bible says it's God. Now, many people deny that God exists, but they cannot logically deny the necessity of an eternal source. They may ignore it. They may pretend it's not important. But there had to be an eternal source. Otherwise, nothing would exist. Now, the fact of eternal things fits Romans chapter 1, verse 20. Because Paul says that God has eternal power. And eternal, of course, means unlimited, unending. To appreciate eternal power, let's look at the atomic bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima, Japan. That bomb had a ball of U-235 the size of a baseball. And it destroyed everything in a 1-mile radius, except 50 heavily reinforced concrete buildings, and they were gutted. The bomb destroyed buildings up to 1.5 miles away. It started fires up to 2 miles away. 78,000 people died that day, and later 62,000 died from radiation poisoning, for a total of 40,000 people. And they died because of a little ball of uranium about the size of a baseball. And let's also note that uranium did not melt or dissipate or disappear. It changed into other metals, such as barium and krypton, which are lower on the atomic scale and hold less energy. In other words, uranium had a very high energy, and these other metals have a less energy, and so when the uranium exploded, it moved down the scale. It didn't dissipate. It didn't dissolve. If that much energy is in a baseball-sized lump of uranium-235 that's just moving down the scale, how much energy is there in the sun? Our sun radiates energy that equals 10 billion hydrogen bombs every second. To say it another way, the sun's radiation per second is equal to 1 trillion atomic bombs exploding all at once. That's just the light it's giving off, the heat. What about all the stars in the sky? Astronomers estimate that there are 1 septillion stars. That's 1 followed by 24 zeros. Now, numbers like this are beyond our imagination. But they do give us a tiny idea of how much energy was needed to create the universe. Where did that much energy come from? No man can explain where it came from, because the laws of thermodynamics tell us that matter and energy cannot be created or destroyed. Now, that's within a closed system. No natural process can vary the total amount of matter and energy, even though matter may turn into energy and energy may turn into matter. Nothing is being made and nothing is being lost. No one has ever seen energy or matter entering the universe or leaving it. So the universe is a closed system. And if energy cannot be created, then how did all the energy in the septillion stars in the universe originate? Next chart, 14. Okay, let's go back one. Thermodynamics said they could not have had a physical source. If there's no physical source, then what's the only other option? There has to be a spiritual source. Jesus Christ says that God is a spirit, and therefore he has a spiritual nature, spiritual powers, and spiritual laws. Now, because God exists outside of the physical realm, he's not limited by the laws of thermodynamics. Now, we don't know how, but his spiritual laws give him eternal or unlimited power. So in the beginning, God must have created physical energy, made the laws of thermodynamics to control it, and put them into the physical universe. And what is the argument that we're referring to? Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the man who wrote about the famous detective, stated the argument this way: when you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. So if thermodynamics proves that no natural law could have produced the universe's power, then the remaining argument, no matter how improbable, must be true. A spiritual creator with eternal power must exist. There is no other way to explain the colossal amount of power that exists in the universe. What other option is there? So in summary, we have seen 5 arguments. First, the existence of God, of a creation, proves that it had a creator. As Hebrews 4 says, for every house is built by someone, but he who built all things is God. And then we supported that idea by noting that anything that is manufactured has these 5 characteristics: a purpose, a design, organization, order, and uses. If the universe has these 5 traits, and it does, then not something or some things, but someone must have built it. Second, the universe is full of precise laws and orders. Laws don't make themselves. Matter doesn't make law. Law controls matter. Persons or people make laws. So the existence of laws and order prove that there must be a lawmaker. Third, everything is either temporary or eternal. Until we posit or assume an eternal source, we can never answer the question of our ultimate origin. Jesus says God is an eternal spirit. He is the logical source of all that exists. Fourth, thermodynamics says physical energy cannot be created, that is, in the physical world or universe. So how did all the universe originate? How did the energy of septillion stars come to be? There's no possible physical source. The only other possibility is a non-physical or spiritual source. God exists, fifth, outside of the physical realm and is unlimited in the spiritual realm by the laws of thermodynamics. If thermodynamics proved that no natural law or force could have produced the power in the universe, then the remaining argument, no matter how improbable, must be true. A spiritual creator with eternal power must exist. And there's no other way to explain the colossal amount of power that exists in the universe. So we have 5 reasons to believe that God exists, that He is the creator, and that He is the one who made the universe. So if we reject this conclusion, our rejection says more about us than it does about the evidence, because the evidence is valid and the arguments are sound. So in conclusion, let me ask a question. If God exists and has given us all these things, if He's gone to so much trouble to create a universe, and then of course we haven't even talked anything about the earth and all its advantages. If God has gone to so much trouble to do all this, what is He going to think if we ignore Him? How will He feel about us? In John chapter 4, verse 23, Jesus says, God is seeking those who will worship Him in spirit and in truth. Okay, that's all the slides there are. The lesson is over. You've heard the evidence for the existence of God. And if you want to come forward and ask for help or for help in drawing near to God or becoming more Christ-like, we invite you to come as we stand and sing.